Oh, for fuck's sake, always with the clicking the buttons.
Monetization down.
It's time for Let's Sell Review with your hosts, Wayne Moon, Greg Narlow, and Lou Max.
Howdy, 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 ho. How is everybody doing? Lou Mavs, you got a haircut? What is that?
Yeah, the fro was getting so unmanageable that I was ready to rip my hair out. So I went to the nice Jewish barber up the road from me in Levittown, New York, and $15.
$15.
$15. And I gave him a $5 tip.
Wow.
That's a bargain.
It looks like a
Yeah.
$15 haircut. Yeah.
It is a $15 haircut.
Well, that's what it looks like. Well, thanks.
Is that a good thing? or a
Look at
bad
me.
thing?
I look beautiful. Thank you, Gappies.
Geez, man, Catman he knows when we're on because he's
Roll
already
the
in the chat.
intro. I'm
Catman.
rolling something as well.
Catman, what's up?
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Actually, Catman, I had a question for you. You can answer in the comments here because I was talking to somebody about it earlier because you're a big Kiss fan too. What do you think of Meat's Fan of the Park?
It's the greatest bad movie ever.
It's one of them, definitely one of them.
Yes.
Yeah. We're not talking about Kiss Meets the Phantom or any kind of Kiss anything. We're talking about Black Sabbath today, the only band that matters, and we're talking about Volume 4.
Black
Yeah.
Shabbos.
My second favorite of the Ozzy lineup.
Second favorite, huh?
Yes.
Wow.
I honestly think it's their best album of the Ozzy era overall.
Really?
Second or third favorite for me. I don't know. I can never end up finishing my ranking of the Sabbath albums.
Sabotage will always be the top for me. But we've already discussed this on an episode of Screams from the Grave. We won't repeat it. Watch the episode and click like, and don't forget to subscribe.
That's right.
It's hard for me to pick a favorite because I'm still not well versed in Sabbath. Even though I have all the albums, I've listened to them all. I still haven't studied them enough to really pick a favorite.
I
You
listened
like all
to
of
this
them.
album at least 50 times last week and the week before. So.
I've listened to this one about 10 times. So, yeah. But it's still, I don't know. I do like the songs on it, but it's just like I can't remember some of them, and I don't know. You know what it is? I wish I never took so long to get into Sabbath. And that's my problem. I waited way too long.
That's okay. I waited too long to get into Halloween. So even trade.
I know. It's just it's hard now because I just have so much music to listen to, and I can't get to everything. It's tough. Catman said as a kid, he's talking about the Kiss movie you asked him about.
Good.
It was a huge thing just to see Kiss, so I liked it just for that reason.
I agree.
Cool.
Because
Me too.
I was 14 in 1995 when I first saw it. And the only reason why I saw it is because one of the substitute teachers that I was cool with in middle school was a Kiss fan. And he actually had a copy taped off Channel 9 back in the day. And he made a VHS dub for me. And he also lent me the Animalized Live Uncensored tape. So he threw that on there too. I was like, this is the coolest freaking teacher. You should get a raise just for being awesome.
That's cool. I didn't see it until they released those box sets. Not the box set, but the DVD box set thing.
Oh, the Kissology one. Oh, so you've only ever seen the edited version that cuts
I
out
never
most
saw
of
it.
Ace's dialogue.
Yeah. So,
There are bootlegs of it that exist of the original
I think
television. What?
I'm good. I'm okay.
No. You need to watch the original. It's so bad. The dialogue is horrible.
I know it is. It's all there except for some of the Ace stuff is gone.
Yeah, but dude, he is so coked out of his mind. Like it isn't the same without it with his full dialogue. It's great because even though he's gone, he's having so much fun. I don't think anybody else is except for him.
Yeah, they really diminished his dialogue in the one that was on the Kissology Volume 2 box set.
Yeah.
He
Like,
barely speaks in that edit.
I
Yeah.
know.
Uh,
Well, Stan, what were you going to say about Black Sabbath?
What was I gonna say? Uh, I don't know. What was I gonna say?
I don't know.
Um,
We're talking about the Ozzy era, I guess, but
I mean,
he doesn't even
you
know who
guys
they
were
are, right? You
you
don't know
guys
who
were
they are.
mentioning your favorite albums. I mean, I'm gonna go with while we're at it, I'm gonna go with Master of Reality
that's a good one.
and Mob Rules from the Dio era.
Yeah,
So
Master of Reality has my favorite Sabbath song of all time, Into the Void. That
Oh,
song is perfect.
Mm.
I mean, the moment you hear that slide
Mm-hmm.
and that evil riff, I mean, it's great.
I
Tony's the master of evil riffs.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
I
that
love
actually.
that song and that riff, but honestly, my favorite part is probably the jam at the end
Oh,
after the guitar solo. Yeah.
that's a good one.
Uh, well, but Mob Rules and Heaven and Hell are the ones I listen to the most.
Yeah.
Those I do know. I know. I know the songs off of that one more. I'm more familiar with the Dio stuff than the Ozzy stuff, which is stupid, but that's just
No,
Interesting, though.
it's not stupid. You never struck me as tribal about uh like you never struck me like I know you're a fan of the Dio era, but I never heard you poo poo on the Ozzy era.
no, it's not bad. I just have to listen to it more.
Yeah, it's no big deal.
I mean, the
Hell,
first time I love the first album. First one's good. That one I know.
oh,
Paranoid,
I love
that's
that
one.
record when they were with all
which
the
is
jazzy jams.
which is funny because you wanted us to watch this documentary that's on YouTube. It's about Volume 4. So I did watch half of it, and the guy was talking about how Ozzy actually doesn't like the sound or doesn't like some of the stuff that they did on those first few albums, and
I
especially
was
like the
gonna
first
talk
one.
about that. Yeah.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked. Well, that
I'm
was back
shocked.
then too, but I don't know how he feels about it now. If he's changed his mind, but
But
I,
he was also doped up, so I don't know.
he
I
probably
wouldn't,
doesn't remember half of it.
but probably doesn't remember at all. Yeah.
They
well,
were
the thing
so
is, too, Meehan was still their manager at the time, which what he did to them led to the song "The Ripped" and how pissed they were later. But a lot of their comments about stuff like that around that time period, I feel like were management directed because whether it's in these documentaries or their own books, they contradict a lot of what they said back then later on.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm sure all the stories are all all over the place. Really. How do you remember all this stuff when you're on drugs?
Yeah.
Certainly. Although,
Although if you're Nikki Six, you remember everything.
no. It's not that you remember everything. You just document it in a diary. Bullshit. Fuck you, Nikki Six.
man.
What are we saying, Greg?
Uh, well, I really don't think Roger Bain like misunderstood their sound on the first three albums. It's just they knew where they wanted to go. And that's why I think it's important Tony produced this one. Although I will say the 2021 remaster is my favorite, even though Tony didn't do it personally, because it still holds that distortion and the warmth of the original album, but the clarity is just up to notch. And Bill Ward and Tony Iommi are definitely the stars of this album, and it just enhances it so much more on that remaster, which is what led to me wanting to do this in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, the remaster is nice. I was listening to that earlier. I have that box set. It's got good sound. I was even listening to the remix versions, which is on disc 2, and it's not remixes of the songs that are on the album, it's remixes of outtakes from those songs.
Correct.
Outtakes, alternative takes. Yeah.
Alternative outtakes. So there are some differences. What are the differences? Because I didn't listen to like the songs back to back, which I should have, but I just didn't have time. But what are
Well,
the
for one
differences?
thing,
I know. Go ahead.
one thing is there's no overdubs on the outtakes.
Hmm.
For example, there's that blues stretch that Iommi does on the beginning to Wheels of Confusion. That's on the actual disc. You won't hear that on any of the outtakes because that was an overdub.
Yep. And the coda to Wheels of Confusion hadn't been written at that time either.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I
Yeah.
noticed that was different.
The interesting thing about that, and I didn't know this until until I watched the documentary, which shout out to YouTube channel The Tapes Archive for doing such a great job on that
Mhm.
documentary. I didn't realize that there was a 12-string guitar in that portion of the song that they added at the coda. And on top of that, I didn't realize that was Geezer playing it.
Yeah, pretty cool. I knew the 12-string guitar was there. I never knew it was Geezer until I saw that though.
Yeah, no, it was pretty cool to know. So Tony actually played with another guitarist on a Sabbath record
Yep.
before Brian May.
Oh yeah, true. I forgot about that actually.
Yeah.
Well, this album is way better than that one anyway.
I like Headless Cross though. I do love that album.
Oh, I love Headless Cross. It's my favorite of the Martin years. It would make my top 10, but
Mm.
I mean, Volume 4 is legendary.
Yeah.
I
Some
mean,
other.
Under the Sun, pretty much. And yes, Master Reality is a little bit more doomier and cobwebby, but if you think about modern doom metal, or even when Trouble first started with their first self-titled, I'm not going to call it Psalm 9. I don't care what anybody says. Wasn't retitled until after I first heard it, but Under the Sun pretty much sets the exact template for all doom metal.
Can't disagree with that.
Hmm?
I cannot disagree with that.
Except Ward's probably a more interesting drummer than 90% of those guys.
The other thing I noticed too, I think Changes was very different. I think the lyrics were different for most of it.
Yes.
Right. And I think some of the keyboards was different as well.
It's not the keyboards, it's a Mellotron. That's a little
Mellotron.
bit different.
No, I mean,
The lyrics are different. Because it's like a work in progress mix, so the melodies hadn't been completely worked out yet. I mean, Ozzy used to come up with a lot of melodies to kind of sing along to what they were doing. This is when they were all still working together, but I think the final melodies were always kind of ironed out by Geezer and Naomi.
yeah. But yeah, it was interesting to hear somebody outtake. So, since you wanted to do the show, what is it that you want to talk about now?
Well, mostly it was the super deluxe set itself, and just how hearing that remaster was like hearing the album for the first time again. And it's great finally having the full Live at Last show with proper sound.
Mm.
The
Yeah, there's
live
bass
album
on
is
here.
awesome. Hmm?
I feel like the bass is more prominent on this one, on the remaster. Like on the original, you could hardly hear it.
Yes, the original. I don't dislike the production, but it's very cobwebby, and by that I mean it's muted a little bit. You
It
could
sounds
definitely
dusty.
hear you could definitely hear everyone. I feel like even the bass pretty good, but it didn't have this much clarity.
Yeah.
And another thing I love about the remaster is, and a vinyl nerd on you guys a little bit here, but outside of these super deluxe sets, I have well, a lot of Sabbath on Japanese pressing, no surprise there, but the Vertigo presses from Germany and the UK of the original albums are absolutely the best sound and just super fat and rich. This remaster is the only thing I've ever heard that sounded like that replicated again. And not just, I mean, I have the vinyl set, but I have the CD set too. And the CD here sounds just as good as the remastered LP does.
Mm-hmm. I'd agree with that. I ripped all the tracks off the CDs and I bumped them to my iPhone, and it sounds really, because I downloaded them as WAV files, so so as to not to lose any distinction with the sound quality. Amazing stuff, and they really packed the box set with some cool pictures of Sabbath at the time. And what I love about the box sets is that they give you the back of it, but each one of them comes with like a booklet, like dictating, what was going on with them at the time, and it goes into detail of the songs or whatever. You got some great shots here, some great um text in them, and it's cool because they're all slip disc, but they kind of look like little vinyl pressings,
Yeah.
and I like that. There was a lot of time and love that went into the production of the deluxe edition box sets. But yeah, even I got to admit, this is the best sounding version of Live at Last that I've heard. And I did buy a copy of that on CD back in '99. I think it was on sale at my local Coconuts music store for like $7.99. Anybody remember Coconuts, kids?
Of
Mhm.
course.
And it was not an official record. It was a Meehan release.
Yes, and it's also a recording of a recording. So when they went to press it, there was literally no way to enhance the sound.
Definitely not. When I purchased it, I did it because I was a fan and I saw that it was available. But I didn't realize by doing that I was hurting Sabbath because they wouldn't collect the royalties because somehow Patrick Meehan managed to steal all their royalties. And his piece of shit son goes on Instagram talking about, oh, look at all the great stuff my father did for Black Sabbath. Yeah, like how he robbed them.
Yeah.
You
And then he
cocksucker.
uses quotes from the band around this time era where, like I said, I think they were required to say this stuff about Meehan because of some kind of management contract, because he wasn't even in Bel Air.
What I think is really disturbing, and this has nothing to do with Volume 4, but around 85, 86, Iommi almost resigned with him.
Mm.
Like,
Well,
this is not one of the cases where the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. I'm sorry. No way.
I mean, no, it wasn't, but I can
No.
also understand by how disillusioned he was with Warner Brothers at the time.
They didn't make a lot of smart decisions
No, Tony didn't.
throughout their career, so I'm not
No.
surprised.
But they did on here, and I think that's why I would call this the best Black Sabbath album too. Is you still have the early days sound, but they truly grew here, and a lot of people refer to it as experimenting, but honestly, well, okay, I'll be honest. First time I heard Changes, it was on We Sold Our Souls for Rock and Roll. I was 10. I hated
Who didn't?
it. Also, I think it plays better when you listen to the album as a whole rather than listening to that on its own. It
Why
just
do
kind of
you,
Hmm?
why is it so hated? I'm just because it's a piano and it's just not Sabbath
Because it's a
themed stuff.
piano ballad. But what I was getting to with that, what I was starting to say is, I think because they're generally considered the first heavy metal band, they got held to kind of a different standard. But that isn't out of character for a rock band, especially in the
Right.
1970s.
Yeah.
They did all kinds of different shit with their sound. And quite honestly, even though Changes features lyrics about love, losing a woman, stylistically, it's not too much different from what they did with Solitude.
Yeah. Yeah,
Other
so
than
That's true.
I will say though, another thing about this album, when they all call it the cocaine album, I have been this snowblind before, and exactly how this record sounds is exactly how you would want to hear it when you're just stuck there like this. And that's another thing I don't believe Ozzy about. I'm sure they were getting daily deliveries of cocaine, but the size of the speaker box he talks about would fit about 50 kilos. They weren't getting 50 grand a blow a day for free.
Oh, no.
I
No,
also
definitely
don't
not.
think they could do that much collectively and all still be.
Yeah, right.
An interesting thing about Changes. First of all, I think I believe the artist's name is Charles Bradley. Yeah, best version of that song that I ever heard from anyone. Like he made it like a 60s like Motown soul song, and
Mhm.
it was fucking gorgeous. I
Mhm.
mean, just the way he did it. I think the man was in his late 60s, early 70s when he did it, and he passed away shortly after. And um, probably one of the best performances of that song, the best performance of that song that was ever put to tape. So I suggest everyone out there go check it out, and you'll hear a more gut wrenching, emotional version than what Sabbath did. And another interesting thing about that song, apparently it was a huge hit for Sabbath in Australia and New Zealand.
Hmm.
Now I'd like to ask the denizens of Oceania something. Why do you guys always go for like the weird stuff? Like, like you liked Kiss's Dynasty and Unmasked. Okay, I get that. But how is that the peak of the band's popularity in your countries? Like, seriously, I think you have a lot to atone for, like your musical taste. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
It's
You
very, it
know,
is very strange.
it's interesting. Like when I was watching the documentary, just Tony just decided to sit down and just write something. Like he just wrote this little riff, and whoever thought that out of that little riff, you would get this great song. It's
I
like,
I also loved in the documentary though when they were talking about that, because yes, you would never think that, and he was able to play it beautifully on the piano and work it out. But that inspired them to rent cellos and violins. It was a lot fucking harder than we thought, mate. It sounded
yeah,
like
yeah,
somebody beating a cat.
they settled with the mellotron, but they did use strings later on the album, didn't they? For Under the Sun, or am I wrong?
Laguna Sunrise.
Laguna
Laguna
Sunrise,
Sunrise.
and they
Okay,
do
okay.
use strings at the end of
Yeah.
Snowblind, which was actually Bill's idea and was overdubbed in.
Yeah. So and they had somebody actually, like, transcribe everything for them.
Well,
Yeah,
the
Like,
road
it was
manager
Spock
had to.
Wall.
Yeah.
okay.
It was Spock Wall who I didn't realize he was a tech for Sabbath, and he produced Greg's least favorite Sabbath album of the Ozzy era, Never Say Die.
Huh. I didn't
Mhm.
realize he produced it.
Mm-hmm. Or he was the engineer
I
on it.
mean,
It was one of the two.
I love Sabbath. I love a few songs off of that, but it's easily the worst album of the first eight.
Yeah, it wasn't their finest hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's some good stuff on it though.
Yeah,
Shit,
but
I don't
every
know.
track isn't amazing like this, man. I mean, that's another
Well,
thing about.
it's a different Sabbath by then.
Oh, certainly. I mean, right here, I think one of the things that makes this so important, especially when you're talking about them transitionally, is the fact that they were on the road constantly, touring and recording for 3 years before this, and not that they didn't have songs that dealt with their own emotions before this. Because I mean, you do have stuff like After Forever and a few other tunes, War Pigs, that deals with their feelings on war, but they went really introspective here. And I mean, just me, I feel everything, the whole album is just an emotional roller
Yeah,
coaster,
it's
from
the
them
more
opening licks, A Wheel of Confusion, to
I mean,
the very end of Under the
Ozzy's the one
Sun.
who said that this is like the most, what was the words he used? Like,
Personal,
musically
I
true,
think.
personal, musically truthful.
Yeah.
I guess, like, and I mean, at first I thought maybe, like, because he said this at the same time when he said that he didn't like, the previous two albums and stuff. And I'm thinking, like, this dude's just smoking crack or something. But after listening to this, I understand, because it is a very, it's probably like their most dynamic album with Ozzy.
I would say so.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, they go some more experimental, different places on Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, the follow up. But I don't think they played quite as dynamically as they do here.
I mean, there's something for everybody here. Like, you got the doom stuff, you got the the fast stuff. You got fucking a piano ballad. You got like a nice acoustic
And then you have
instrumental,
And
FX.
then,
and you have effects. Yeah, like what is this shit?
dude, I love Tony's responses when people get pissed about that. He's like, it's just a total joke, and he still thinks it's funny as hell.
You're wasting tape, Tony. Come on.
Yeah. All because they were smoking a bunch of hash in Marquee Studios. He leaned over to grab his guitar, his crucifix hit the strings and went, "Bong." And he was like, that's really cool.
Let's record this.
And
It is cool though, because who would like really think to put that on an album? You know,
No one in
why
their
would
right
you?
mind.
well, the thing is, the way he sequenced it and mixes it too. I mean, it fits perfectly. It's kind of a perfect transitional piece. Plus, if you're doing a ton of blowing, you're sitting there with headphones on, it would sound really cool.
Yeah.
Or even if you were smoking pot. But the speed on this compared to the speed on the first three albums, I mean, there was, yes, I'm sure a lot of it was excitement and as they were growing as musicians, but there's a lot of cocaine in this album.
Well, I think this was their first album to thank the Coca-Cola company. Like literally, it says in the liner notes, thanks to the Coca-Cola company of California.
Yes, because they wouldn't let them call it Snowblind.
That story of Ozzy accidentally hitting the panic button, and then he ended up snorting like 6 grams of cocaine off the floor before the cops showed up.
And I think they had to flush the rest down the toilet.
Well, it clogged the toilet. So they
Oh
were
my
trying to
God.
snort the remainder. And then the cops show up and the maid goes, oh, false alarm. And yeah, they were just sitting around freaking out afterwards. And he had, well, it's actually interesting to read uh, the bubbles after they talk about them going to see the French Connection, although they passed by really fast in the documentary. But that's in Martin Popoff's book, I believe, Sabotage. Sabbath in the 70s, the full quote. And they all came back to the house, and Ozzy's just like freaking out, having an existential crisis. What if I'm really the informer somehow? And MI6 got in my head. And he goes through all this paranoid shit. And at the end, he's like, yeah, and then I just went into the closet and did another bump, and I was okay.
And that's when Ozzy knew he finally fucked up big time.
There was a couple of funny things too from that documentary with Tony Iommi. I guess he dressed up as a ghost. He was trying to scare everybody.
Yeah.
But nobody cared.
Ooh.
And then the other one was when they painted Bill Ward gold.
Yes.
And he had to go to the hospital because he got sick.
And although they claim that is consensual in the documentary there, the way I always heard it, because Bill at this point was getting pretty bad with the booze more so than everybody else. So he would quite commonly pass out a lot. He passed out naked in the hallway and they decided to paint him gold. And then he started seizing and they called 911.
Bill always finds himself in the most precautious of positions. He's always naked or he's wearing red tights on an album cover. Reds they weren't pants, everyone.
That's
They were
typical with drummers, Lou. I mean, they're all
Well,
weird.
Bill's just a happy-go-lucky guy, and they ask him something like, "Hey, Bill, can I light your beard on fire later?" He's like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
sure, why
yeah, sure, Tony.
not?"
Oh, I didn't think you were really gonna do it. I'm on fire now. Oh no.
Or hell, even when they were recording "Born Again," even I mean, he was still drinking then too. But Gillen crashed his car racing around Clearwell Castle. That's what trash came out of. And
That
also, something I was thinking about as I was listening to this too, sonically and just the way they were writing during it. Born Again's almost a perfect follow up to Volume 4.
in what regards to the rawness of it, you mean?
The rawness and the production of it, the interplay between Tony and Bill, especially
Yeah, I could see
the
that to a
experimental
point.
nature of a couple of tunes,
That I'll agree with you on. Okay.
and yeah, and everything on the record is strong. like Volume 4 as well. You know, they didn't really have a misfire and screw around.
Yeah. But back to Volume 4 again. I just thought it was funny that FX was really just Tony Iommi hitting his guitar strings with his cross. We didn't even mention Tomorrow's Dream and like what an iconic song that is. And the fact that almost everyone and their mother, like when they cover one song off of Volume 4, if it's not Snowblind, it's that one.
Yep.
And it's definitely one of the best that they ever wrote. I mean, it's a perfect pop song. You know,
It's
like
one of my favorite riffs Tony ever wrote too.
yeah.
Well,
But
even though there's like 7 different ones in the song, you know.
but then but then after FX, you get an awesome track by the name of Supernaut, which apparently, according to Frank Zappa, it was his favorite Black Sabbath song.
You know, I found it kind of odd in the documentary they only took that one quote from Zappa because he actually mentioned Supernaut several times in the 70s and even later on in the 80s. He said it was his favorite rock song of the 70s altogether.
That I did not know.
Yeah.
Well, the one thing in the documentary that I found funny was apparently there was a an audio clip and a photo of Van Halen before they got signed, and they were about to do Dave. They were about to do Tomorrow's Dream, and Dave goes, "Yeah, we're about to do a song for Black Sabbath off the
What's that
I,
album?
I don't know the name of the album, but the song's called Tomorrow's Dream." And you get the little thought bubble from Eddie. Go, it's Volume 4, Dave, you moron.
Yeah.
I was actually.
They also played it live when they opened for Sabbath on the Never Say Die tour. Which,
Really?
yes, and due to cultural differences, that actually really upset Sabbath at first, because
Right.
Tony thought they were taking the piss at him because Sabbath wasn't in the best shape at the time, but they were
Mhm.
just paying tribute because it was one of Van Halen's favorite bands.
That's what Ozzy felt when Metallica did that on the Master of Puppets Ultimate Sin tour. He thought they were taking the piss. Sam, what were you going to say?
What was that whole segment about? Like, they were talking about in the doc, the influence that Sabbath had on EVH as far as like the Brown sound goes,
The tone of the guitar. I
the tone
mean,
of the guitar.
if you think, I mean, like at the time, Iommi's Gibson SG, it didn't have humbucker pickups. It was P90s.
Mm.
But there was also a treble booster added to the amp because I think the amps at the time didn't have a gain function on it or an overdrive function on it. It was just pure volume, no distortion. The treble boost actually added to it. So you combine that with the rawness from the P90 pickups, which is a heavier single coil sound that's more uh not as high wound as like your average Fender Strat Alnico single coil pickup. The thickness of it, uh, that's what they're saying. Is like the real Brown sound, that dirty
Mm-hmm.
but beautiful guitar sound. And even though Eddie has always stated that Eric Clapton was his favorite guitar player, that was his biggest influence. I hear more Iommi in his playing than than Clapton. I personally don't think Clapton is. I know there are a lot of people out there that love Eric Clapton,
I
and
don't.
I don't either. Not my kind. Not that guy is not my kind of guy, to quote
Yeah.
Frank Costanza. But Iommi, even for all of his troubles, I'll take him any day.
Yep. I mean, how many riffs did Tony write? You know, legendary riffs. I can't think of anything Eric Clapton really wrote that's worth even listening to. Sorry, Clapton fans.
Was gonna come on next week. Now you ruined that. Thanks.
You always
do.
do that way.
Damn.
I mean, look,
Cream.
his stuff with Cream was good. His stuff
Okay.
with Blind Faith was good. As far as his stuff with the Yardbirds, I'm sorry, I can think of two better guitar players than him, and their names are Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page. So
There you go.
Hmm.
So, besides the more clarity, more bass, more instrument separation on the remaster, what I really like are the drums.
yes.
The way they sound, that snare sounds awesome. It actually sounds like a modern kit or something. It's great.
Sounds better than a
It
modern kid because it has
it's
warmth to it.
I mean, like
Mhm.
I always believed that an album sound is determined by the drums. Not just the playing, but the way it sounds. If it sounds like shit, everything else suffers. Because the drums to me are like the foundation for everything. And if it's crap, everything else is just gonna sound like crap as a result.
See
But
reference Saint Anger. Continue.
yeah, exactly. But the drums here are like just they sound great. They sound excellent. And as a result, everything else sounds great. So I really like what they did with that. Yeah.
Well, they sound real.
They
It's
sound real, yeah.
we're not listening to fake things. Things that are plugins. We're not listening to plugins. We're not listening to any like program things. It's all real drums.
But it also doesn't sound like a typical like rock kit either.
Well,
I
he was
don't
a
know.
jazz influenced drummer.
Yeah,
So you hear
it's
that
Yeah.
very
swing.
Yeah.
jazzy.
Oh, okay, well there you
The
go.
way he plays, it's the way his drums are tightened up. There's a whole bunch of different factors. Also the way it's mic'd too. You know.
Mm,
There's something about drums from 1970s hard rock records. You can never replicate how good they
No.
were. There was just
yeah,
something about them that was just real
yeah,
magic.
I
Um,
agree.
but one thing I gotta give to Bill Ward, the man. Okay, everyone calls Gene Hoglan the atomic clock, and I'm not gonna disagree with that statement. Gene Hoglan is an amazing drummer, but before
But
him was Bill Ward. That man didn't need no click track, and he kept
Nope.
perfect time every time.
Oh yeah, Supernaut's a great example. Love that tune.
Oh my god, that breakdown of him just like blasting the hell out of the drums is worth the price, worth the listen alone. Just that
Oh, dude, even
groove.
just how it starts, just him hitting the hi hat and all that. I mean, the energy's already there.
Mm.
I love it when the when the narrator said that like the Supernaut riff it just sounded like it came from Shaft.
Yes, I got a kick out of
That
that.
that that funky vibe to it too.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I could totally see that.
Bound
Uh,
out, bound,
this is
bound out. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, and actually, it's kind of funny you mentioned that because that one's got a little bit of a funky vibe, yes, and so does Saint Vitus Dance, and
Mhm.
it always made me wonder, reading reviews of Technical Ecstasy. People are so pissed about all moving parts stand still. Well, Sabbath never sounded funky before. I'm like, yeah, they did. Where the hell were you?
You couldn't go anywhere in 1972 without like hearing the music of Curtis Mayfield or anything like that. I mean, come
Right.
on. It was influential. It was of its time. Yeah, everybody was digging on that. I still dig on it. I don't give a damn. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm losing my medical credentials. Oh, whoa, go, woe is me. Woe to me. Life is bad. Whatever.
I don't care what they say because I'm gonna have to find the dish that ran away with the spoon.
It's not for nothing, but to me, Supernaut is the ultimate "yeah me fuck you" song. That's what I love about it. I mean, I want to reach out, touch the sky. I want to touch the sun, but I don't need to fly. Oh,
Yep.
geezer, such a
Don't need
genius.
religion. Don't need no friends. I got all I want and I don't need to pretend. And my personal favorite line, I've seen the future and I've left it behind.
That is a sick
And
line.
actually, this album as a whole and as much emotion it has with it now, even though I don't like a lot of his music post Black Flag, Henry Rollins, I notice very commonly has the same feelings. You bite my hand one more time, I'm going to punch you right in the nose.
No
Type
animal
of
abuse is welcome on
feelings I
Rat Star
go
Review.
about.
Calling the ASPCA right now.
Yes, call ASPCA. Call him.
It's called an off
Call
button,
call
but
call Sarah McLaughlin right now. In the arms
But,
of a
I
beating.
can't save them all, Sarah. Stop it.
Go to hell, Sarah McLaughlin. Sorry, Greg, you were saying?
No, he said early Sabbath is like the ultimate lonely man's rock band, and this really is like the ultimate lonely man's album.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's all about, man. Lost in the wheels of confusion, and then Supernaut, where it's like, yeah, fuck you guys, and Under the Sun, which is one of the best self-affirming tunes I've ever heard.
Definitely
And
is.
the other cool thing about it is it's all very positively self-affirming. It's not really what I would call selfish BS like someone like Guns N' Roses would do.
Can you give an example of a GNR song that's BS self-affirming?
Pick one.
Never mind. Walk right into that one. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, God, anytime Axel refers to himself, really.
No, we'll say Night Train for argument purposes.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you, that came off the top of my head. I haven't listened to a Guns N' Roses song in years, outside of Welcome to the Jungle being on the radio, so I can't give you a specific example that quickly. I was never a huge GNR fan.
This Catman wrote this earlier. His only problem with the earlier Sabbath stuff is some of the fluff.
Some of the fluff.
Some of the
I
fluff.
really don't. That's interesting because I really don't feel that they had any fluff until you get to Sabotage, really. I feel like everything on the first 5 has its place and works within the context of the album.
They have a song called Fluff.
Yeah, on the next one, Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, which was a tribute to the DJ who believed in and spun Sabbath on his radio show. Alan, was it Alan? No, it's not Alan Freed. I forgot his
DJ
name.
Fluff.
Well, Fluff was his nickname. That's why it was called Fluff.
DJ Jazzy Fluff.
Keep his name out your damn mouth. How did we fit that into this topic, ladies and gentlemen? Anyways, moving right along.
I have no idea.
But yeah, Supernaut, awesome track. And by the way, did anybody?
I hear that Supernaut riff, and I just want to slap someone's mom.
It's so good, it makes you want to slap your mama.
So good, it makes me want cocaine.
Did anybody like the Ministry version?
No.
I didn't know Ministry did a version.
I don't hate it, but it's not my favorite cover of it.
If you have the Nativity in Black album, there's a cover of Supernaut on it, but it's under the name 1,000 Homo DJs.
Yes, okay.
Supposedly that's Al Jorgensen with Trent Reznor.
Yeah. That was in a documentary too.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Yeah, nothing wouldn't let Reznor's vocals be on it. Actually, I don't even think they credited him on it originally.
They didn't, due to contractual obligations with Interscope, because that was a Wax Trax band.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Totally forgot about that.
And then we move on to the song that the album was almost called until they figured out what it meant.
Yeah, Vertigo had a little bit of a problem with that.
A little bit.
Well, I'm sure if it was about 6 years later, it wouldn't have been a big deal at all. But they mention it in the documentary too. The Sabbath didn't even come across Blow until they were on tour in the U.S. at the tail end of the Master Reality Tour in '71. That wasn't really around in the UK, and it was kind of taboo at the time.
Didn't Tony's guitar tech give it to him first or something?
Yeah, because he said he was so tired of the Denver show, and Tony was like, I don't know, man. He's like, nah, trust me, take a toot, you'll feel better. And Tony was like, I was king of the universe.
My question is, because they did so much of it in the 70s, how did they all survive it? Like that's the thing that just baffles me.
Well, one of the things and this isn't to say, oh, it made it safer or anything, but just the fact that none of them ever really freaked out on stage. One of the things that Geezer mentioned in his book, but you really don't hear much of anywhere else, is they were snorting heroin along with it, I guess, to kind of balance them out.
Oh, jeez. Uppers and downers at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. I
Yeah,
mean,
smoking hash. I mean, Laguna Sunrise, they wrote while they were tripping, or Tony wrote while they were tripping on mushrooms on the beach.
and Ozzy thought he was swimming in the ocean, but he was just like waving his arms in the sand. That was
Yes.
hilarious. But that song Laguna Sunrise is freaking gorgeous.
Yeah.
It is.
Probably one of the best acoustic interludes between songs that he ever did. But the track that precedes it, Cornucopia,
Oh, we
now
were done with
that
Snowball.
song makes you want to slap someone in the face, man.
Dude, I can't believe that for such a short song, like it's so complex. There's like so many like dynamic shifts in there. It's great.
Oh, it's great. It's insane how many shifts there are, and honestly, might be my favorite work from Bill Ward altogether. I mean, he just goes off. Took him a while to get it down, unfortunately.
Yeah, he didn't know what the hell he wanted to do on that one, right? He kept fucking it up. Or was
I
it
thought
another song?
I thought the documentary said that was Under the Sun that he kept doing that with.
And they did say in the documentary there seems to be some confusion whether it was Under the Sun or Cornucopia. It's possible he had problems with both tunes.
Because I know they did play Cornucopia live on that tour. They never played Under the Sun live until Tommy Clufetos replaced Bill for the end tour, the 13 tour. Like I know, I think it was their last leg of that tour where they actually brought Under the Sun back into the set list. And I think that was the first time ever Sabbath played that live. Was with Tommy on drums. So
I think it was Cornucopia, like in the documentary, like that's the song he had the most trouble with. He couldn't come up with a part for it or something.
Well, that was they had come up with the parts, but he couldn't nail it. And they were talking about being back in London and putting the finishing touches on it, and him just sitting there all fucked up with Alvin Lee and not being able to do it. And they basically just told him, go home. You're not being useful right now. And he was really freaked out that he was going to get fired. But
Yeah.
like I said, there seems to be some confusion because those similar stories also revolve around Under the Sun. I have an easier time believing it was Under the Sun than Cornucopia, to be honest with you. Just because Under the Sun seems like a real hard tune to come up with a drum part for, just because of how many changes there are in that.
Yeah. I mean, there's 4 basic parts that make up their song, but those basic parts are not that basic.
No, it's very complex. Oh, and yeah, Snowblind, love the song. Although I have to say, I like it better when they do it live because it's a little speedier. I feel like it's almost a little subdued on the record.
Then you don't want to hear the sleep version of it because that's slow.
I'm not a real fan of Sleep, so yeah, no, I don't like their version of it.
It does exist. Wayne, what your opinion on any of the tracks?
Everything's great. Keep going.
Well, I'll walk right into that one.
No, I like Snowblind. I can't give any things like you guys do. You guys are more you know this album more than I do. So continue.
Yeah, all right. Well, after the beauty of Laguna Sunrise comes.
If I would have known we were going to do this like song by song, I would have made notes, but I didn't. So
It just kind
I'm
of turned
unprepared.
into that. I wasn't really expecting that.
Whoever thought that somebody who writes the most evil fucking riffs would come up with, something like Laguna Sunrise? Just to, just to like, like writing it, reminiscing about being on the beach, watching the waves and, getting high or whatever the fuck. I mean, such a good track too. I love it.
Well,
Tony's the master, bro.
I think it all goes back to the
Under the
fact
Sun was actually played on almost every single show of the Volume 4 tour in 72.
on the Volume 4 tour.
Yes.
Oh,
Was
okay.
it playback or was it actually played like
No, it
performed?
was actually played.
Oh, okay. So I guess Bill got the hang of it eventually because wow, that's too bad that it was never recorded. But when they first started the band after they changed their name, the intent was to scare people. But I think Iommi just got to a point where he's like, he really just wanted to expand as a guitarist and a songwriter.
Yeah.
For example, I didn't know that, like, if you listen to the live portion of the box set, that Wicked World medley, when they break into sometimes I'm happy, sometimes I'm sad, which is really just like a revision of the lyrics from Changes. But the music that they play that's played under that part um, would eventually be reconstituted into Symptom of the Universe, according to the documentary. And I didn't put two and two together. So, but when I saw Sabbath in concert, there was no jamming, which was unfortunate for me because it would have been cool to have seen them just jam out something like, out of the blue and just, hear what Tony does naturally. It for all intents and purposes, thank God that what was documented and put on here, because I was just like, oh, why are they going to re-put Live at Last on here? I'm glad they did because it sounds better. And the last time that it was put on a CD by Sabbath, and I don't know if this was their call or if it was Sanctuary Records call, but it was on the Past Lives 2 CD set. And it's basically the original album.
What? No. There's only the 3 unreleased songs that didn't make the original album on the Past Live set.
No, but disc 1 of Past Lives is Live at Last.
I don't think so.
It is, because I have it. Being fact checked right now.
Yeah, no, because I think that's a different show.
And disc 2 is made up of stuff from the Asbury Park 75 show that was a Sabotage tour. Also the Paris show, which was the tour between the self-titled and Paranoid, as well as some other stuff. I think I forget. It's been so long since I listened to that. Ever since I got listened to the box, that's all I listened to.
Mm-hmm.
Find it yet, Greg?
Yes.
Watch, disc 1 is gonna be Live at Last on Past Lives. I know it. I just
It
know it.
is.
Ah, yummy.
I
Super
thought-
not.
Huh, no, I guess they never did release the unreleased tracks from it until they did this box set.
That is correct. That is correct. What are we getting at? Oh yeah, so I don't know. I personally don't think you could go wrong with volume 4, and I would suggest if you could find it for cheap. I'm not sure if they still sell it on the Rhino Records website. What's that?
It should still be up there.
Okay, because the Paranoid box set was ridiculously expensive. I had to get mine.
Yeah, that one is, I don't know why did they make that one so like
scarce?
limited. Yeah.
I mean, thankfully I found my copy for like $85 on Discogs, and
Really?
it was mint.
I've
Yeah.
gotten all of them from Amazon, brand new. The most expensive one was Paranoid, and I only paid $80 for it.
Wow. They had a really good sale on Rhino like 2 years ago, and that's when I started buying them. But the Paranoid one, I had to get the record version.
You couldn't
What?
find the CD version.
No, by about that time, the CD version was sold out.
Mm.
Yeah, I bought them all from Amazon, although the only one I actually have the CD version of is Volume 4.
Watching this documentary makes me want to try cocaine.
No,
No, you don't.
Okay.
Not unless you got a concert to go to or something like that. But yeah, you don't want to do it just sitting around in your house listening to this record. All right. That wouldn't be a good first time.
No.
Yeah,
No, I just can't believe because like they weren't getting all fucked up like during the making of this album. They were getting fucked up all the time, like throughout the years. And I just can't believe that they've survived, for so long, just like doing that crazy shit. Like it's crazy. Like fucking Ozzy's always doing he's always like putting shit up his nose or something like that. I don't know how this guy fucking made it to his 70s being as fucked up as he.
I think he
I
did
don't
more of it
think
in the '80s, to be quite honest.
I was gonna say honestly, I don't think he'd still be alive today if he didn't get with Sharon in the early '80s.
Yeah, probably not.
I think she's kind of controlled him and worked out a lot of shit that way since then. But otherwise, I think around the time of Speak of the Devil, he'd have been done for. And if not, then certainly on that Bark at the Moon tour with Motley Crue.
Ugh.
It looks like the volume 4 is not on. Well, the vinyl is not the box set.
Oh,
Oh,
I
Did
it's
guess
not
Bill
on
Bill
Amazon.
had the hardest time with the addiction stuff? You think?
probably the booze, maybe not so much the drugs, but definitely the drinking.
Uh,
Yeah, I definitely with the drinking, and honestly, I think Bill had the most personal demons overall because he went through more life experiences than the other guys had for the most part fairly early. I mean, Changes is based on his first divorce, and hell, I don't think any of the other ones were even married yet in 72.
mm,
No, and I think Iommi is finally on his I think he's on his fourth marriage now, and he's been married to Maria Solholm, who was the former lead singer of the band Drain STH.
Hmm.
He got himself a very attractive Swede.
Yes, he did. I didn't realize he was married to her.
It's good to be the king. Anyway,
Yes. Well, God.
well, that too. But
I mean,
um,
yeah, that's one of the best albums ever. Just godlike from the guitar tone to the music itself.
what I find interesting though is that sonic wise, you put the four albums together, and you can see that progression. Now, I love Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, but even I have to admit the production on that album. When I first heard it on cassette, I thought it was meh. Hearing it on CD, a little better than I remember listening to it on cassette. But, you know, and this is not a knock on the songs because, Spiral Architect, that's in my top 5 favorite Sabbath songs. But even then, it's like there's just something about it that's not as crisp and warm as like
mhm.
Volume 4.
I'll be honest too, even though I know it's sacrilege to a lot of AOR 70s rock fans, but there has never been an album that I have heard that was recorded in Clearwell Castle that I think truly sounds punchy like it should.
What other animal? What other animals? What other albums were recorded there?
Mott's Drive On was one of them. Oh God, I can't remember the Zeppelin album they recorded there now.
Was it 2?
I think it was.
Well, we've already had this discussion. You know, there was if you have the original pressing of it, apparently
Yeah,
it was
yeah, the hot
recorded
mix
so
and
loud.
all that. Yeah.
This is how Greg
Born
tells me. Let's
Again
not
was
talk about it.
recorded there too. Huh?
What's that?
Born Again was recorded there too, I think.
That's interesting.
Mm.
And we know Wayne loves Born Again. No, we don't. He does not. He's not a fan of that album.
No, not really.
Not
Oh,
even Zero to Hero.
Maybe one day I would. I really got to listen to it more than I have.
Not even
about 10
Disturbing the
times already.
Priest.
I don't. I just don't like sound. I don't like. I don't like. What's
You
his
don't
name?
like Ian Gillan. I know
Ian
that.
Gillan's vocals. Well, I'm getting used to it now. I've been listening to some Deep Purple stuff, but I don't know. Just on. It's just weird. Just weird. Maybe one day I'll get used to it. I don't know. I got to listen to it more.
It feels very 80s to me. I mean, it was.
Feel
It,
80s to me.
I could just see it right now. Wayne's gravestone. He died still hating Ian Gillan.
I don't hate Ian Gillan. I did at first, but then I got used to it. I got used to
I
it.
honestly never
Doesn't bother
understood
me
your
so much.
aversion to him with how much you like high voiced singers in general.
Because his high
I'm really
high
surprised.
voice, his high pitch screams aren't like good. You know,
Come
I
on,
don't
man.
know.
The man was Jesus on the original recording of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Was he really?
Yes,
Yeah.
you can't get a better version of Gethsemane than that.
All right,
I mean,
fine. I changed my
shit,
mind.
when a blind man cries, I mean, you know.
No, that I see. I've just listened to that album a few weeks ago, and I love that song. That whole album is really, really good. I love how his singing is on that one. But just for some reason with Black Sabbath, there's just too much. It's too much between the production of that thing. Everything's so it's like all reverb and it's echoey, and it's just too
Well, that's the
much.
best part.
It's too much.
That's
Too
why
much.
it only lasted one album, unfortunately.
Way too much.
Actually, I honestly believe they would have continued and done another one if he didn't get the Mark II offer.
And I wonder who he preferred playing with, Iommi or Blackmore. I think he got along better with Iommi personally.
Oh, he definitely got along
Oh,
with
yeah.
Iommi, Geezer, and Ward better. I mean, he said that multiple times over the years. The whole thing was great. You know, it's what he said. It was like truly recording with friends. He just hated the sound of the album when everything was said and done. That's like a lot of people like to take part of the quote where he says, "Oh, I heard it and I puked." Well, he says, "I heard the record company's mix of it and I puked," because originally the Manor Tapes bootleg was the original mix of the album.
Oh,
So and then the Warner Brothers screwed around with it a little bit. So when the actual album came out, Iommi, Gillan, I think Gillan out of everybody in the band, honestly, Bill, it didn't seem to bother much. And that might be just because he was super hammered the whole time. But Iommi and Gillan were really pissed off about how the record company remixed it before they put it out officially.
and apparently there's talks about him touching that album up and re-releasing it.
Yep, he's had the masters for a few years now. I hope he does it. I hope it gets a box set release like these did.
I'll give it a listen.
You know what's another funny bit of trivia about that album is that the artist purposely tried to make the artwork hideous, and when he was hoping that just like Tony would hate it, just so they don't work with him anymore, and Tony ended up loving it. Did you guys know that?
I heard that, and apparently, the guy that was the art director for it, was also the art director for Speak of the Devil, Ozzy's live album, and he's the one that said this is the worst fucking album cover ever. But that album cover was actually used by Depeche Mode, I think either for an album or a single, but it was the actual picture of the baby. Someone just went and like drew over it with like, red and blue paint and added yellow horns and fangs to it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Poor kid.
I think they got it out of a science book, which apparently a lot of bands in the 70s and 80s did that.
Yeah, did that his little story I don't completely 100% believe because well, again, as they were mixing it and doing everything, it didn't have a finished cover. The band had no say in that.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
Wow. It's funny because like let's talk about the album cover for Volume 4. So we all know now that that's Ozzy because the box set clearly shows that it is.
Mm-hmm.
But like the yellow silhouette that they have on the album cover, I wouldn't have known. And like, I didn't realize that
Really?
I didn't realize that the peace signs were what was being shown on both hands. I thought that the right hand was a head growing up. Like I
Oh,
was like, this is the freakiest looking album cover I ever saw. And if you have the cassette, the colors are reversed. So it's a yellow background with a black figure.
I knew exactly what it was when I first saw it, actually.
Yeah,
But
I
I
never
think,
even liked Black Sabbath, and I knew it was Ozzy.
Yeah.
well, I couldn't see where the face was.
It's in the
But
middle here.
yeah, well, yeah,
No, I see what you're saying. It's
it's
hard
like
to
a
see.
Rorschach, dude. It's like I
It's
didn't know what it was.
yeah, it's very
It's a monochrome photograph of Ozzy taken during a Sabbath concert at Birmingham Town Hall in January 1972 by Keith McMillan.
And apparently that actually upset the rest of the bandmates.
that's I was gonna mention that. Like, why would he have his? If he be the only one on the album cover, that's kind of strange.
Well, each band member is given his own photo page with the band on stage at the very center. That's what it says later on. But
It
yeah, I mean,
is in the original booklet that came with the original album.
mm,
But why put him on the front? You know,
Because apparently he was
well,
and
he's
then the
he's the
documentary kind
singer,
of
so I get it.
yeah, the documentary kind of showcases that he was the star of the band.
Hmm.
I mean, they just wanted to slap something on quick anyway, probably. I don't know.
I think it's because it's a pretty easily identifiable image. You
Yeah,
know, a
yeah.
full shot of the band wouldn't have stood out as much as that.
I mean, it's become pretty popular, over the years. Like it's pretty iconic right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that album cover has been redone in different fashions on many other releases.
Hmm.
One of the funniest things I found about the documentary was the Bill Ward quotes about how much he hated the album title and didn't think it made any sense at all. Well, it's the fourth album. Like, it's not that odd. Like, who cares if the first three weren't volumes one, two, and three? I just didn't get his logic there.
Yeah.
Bill, you're drunk. Go home.
Pretty much.
Mm.
I mean, Bill, if that's the case, you would have rivaled Chicago for corniest album titles then. I mean, calm down.
A lot of people tell me I look like Bill.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't see it, man.
I didn't,
Well, I've
yeah,
never
even
seen him
when
with his
I
hair
take my
down.
glasses off, I've never quite. Yeah, that's true too.
I mean,
Well,
And
Bill's
you
also
play like him.
Bill's also bald and clean shaven now, so like,
I don't know if I still could or not. I haven't sat behind a drum kit in many, many years.
maybe Bill or John Bonham when he was in his woolly man looks. Sure.
Ah, give me Bill. I don't want to
I'll
be
give you Bill. Okay.
Bonzo at all.
Oh, how do you not like Bonzo?
Yeah.
Didn't you want
I
to
didn't
hear
say
that?
anything about his drum playing. He's just an ugly motherfucker.
Oh, that's true.
There's a picture of Bill Ward with a beard.
It is Greg. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Pretty close. It's close.
Bill, tuck
I
his
get
shirt in. Jeez.
I get you too confused. Yeah.
But I would have liked to have heard that jam session between Sabbath and John Bonham.
That's another point in the documentary. I don't necessarily believe it was recorded. I think Iommi's remembering wrong. I mean, they definitely jammed, but Tony is the only one that says tape ever rolled on it.
Hmm.
And okay, maybe he was the least fucked up out of all of them at the time. But it seems kind of odd that only one person in the room recalls it being recorded.
Hmm.
Yeah. I'll believe it when I hear it, basically.
Did we get through the last two tracks yet?
St. Vitus
Well,
Dance and
we
Under the
talked about
Sun.
Under the Sun quite a bit, but
Yeah.
another Saint Vitus Dance. I know that's one of the more divisive tracks on here, but I love it because it keeps their evolved sound that they arrived at by the time of Volume 4, but it's also a throwback to them early jam days.
Mm.
Mm.
It really has that vibe to it. You know what I mean? Like, well, okay. I'm going to use the American, one of the multiple titles given to it, which was The Wasp. The actual whole song is just called Behind the Walls Sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Separate point. But yeah, St. Vitus Dance really reminds me a lot of the jamming they did during Wasp and Behind the Wall of Sleep.
I could see that. I mean, I thought it was just very like their most Beatlesque song that they had done at this point. I mean, even lyric wise, I'm wondering if Ozzy wrote the words.
Lyrically, I definitely get the Beatles comparison. Musically, I think it's got much more to do with that British blues era that Sabbath originally formed out of. I
Mm.
hear more Mott the Hoople, early Jethro Tull, and early Fleetwood Mac and that than I do the Beatles, but those guys were all influenced by the Beatles. So,
I could see that.
yeah.
But it's funny because if anyone here is a Miami Vice fan or anyone watching, the name of Crockett's cigarette boat, no, not the cigarette boat, his houseboat was the St. Vitus Dance.
Yes, it was.
And I'm wondering if the creators of the show, maybe not Michael Mann, maybe it was Michael Mann. I'm wondering if any of them were a closet Sabbath fan and they just didn't admit it.
Could
Well,
be.
isn't it based on like the guy Saint Vitus who did a dance when he was like executed or something like that?
Well, no, apparently it was based on the condition that some people have where it's like they just can't stand or sit still. And apparently, from what the documentary says, Bill Ward had a childhood. I don't know if affliction is the correct word, but he had a condition where he just couldn't sit or stand still. So his family said, "Oh, he's got that Saint Vitus dance," because that's what they
Right,
called
but
it.
right, but they called it that because it was
He
just
was
like some,
dancing at the end of a rope.
yeah, I kn- I remember reading about this. Like it was like some religious figure named Saint Vitus
Right.
who had this condition where he would do like some spontaneous movements or whatever like that, and before he was executed, he just did a little dance, involuntary dance, I guess. And it's believed that he had this condition.
There is some truth to that because I heard the same story you did,
Right.
but I don't think that's where they got
Yes,
the
there
idea
is,
from.
but you guys are thinking about it way deeper than it actually was.
Okay. Now
It's
we're gonna get
totally
schooled.
related to Bill's childhood, but
It was related to Bill's childhood.
yeah.
2 songs about Bill on Volume 4.
Bill said, sure, go ahead. Although they didn't consult him before they wrote changes. He found out about it later and was like, okay.
He's like the most chill dude, but he's also like
The biggest partier out of all.
Yeah.
At that time, I mean, Ozzy definitely outdid him in the 80s, but
Ozzy outdid the entire LA metal scene in the 80s. Let's not get it twisted. For the amount
pretty much.
For the amount of coke that Dokken, Rat, Motley Crue, you name them. I'll even throw Ingve in there because I'm sure he was high on that shit. I think Ozzy just like outdid them all, you know.
Mhm.
But although I will say one thing though, I never saw Ozzy do this with his nose. in interviews. I can't say that about Rat because apparently I saw an interview with them when they were in Japan where Robin Crosby had some left over, and Warren's like, "Wipe it off, wipe it off."
Yeah. Yeah. That actually something interesting I found out a couple years ago. The majority, well, I don't know about pre Ultimate Sin era, but the majority of those interviews and shit he did for MTV and even in movies and all that around that time was all staged.
What was staged?
Most of the interviews and movie appearances Ozzy would do, he wasn't really fucked up like that. He was just acting apparently.
Uh it is quite possible because like I did see some of those interviews that he did promoting the Blizzards and Diary tours, and he's like, "If you're pregnant, I don't recommend you come to the show," and like all this stuff. Like,
Well, Penelope Spheres confirmed it about Wet Decline too. Him cooking breakfast, all that shit was directed by his management.
yeah, I wouldn't let Ozzy cook my eggs. That's just
Well, no, what he says, everything, because she came right out and said it. Yeah, it was all directed by his management team.
so Sharon.
Yeah,
Let's not get it twisted. It was Sharon.
certainly. But, it just makes me wonder, like, how much of it was an act.
Who knows? But anyway,
Under the Sun,
killer track.
the
Every day comes
quintessential
and
Doom
goes.
song.
Life is one big overdose. Very true.
That riff used to scare the hell out of me as a kid.
Yeah.
That and Cornucopia, and that's what made me love it.
It's like a fucking dinosaur coming at you.
Under the Sun is the first song I ever was listening to on headphones where I actually had to turn the Walkman down for maximum volume. So I was like, holy hell.
Oh my goodness! But
This is 1972, fellas. This is the heaviest shit. It
yeah,
still sounds fucking heavy, right? I mean, like, despite modern production and everything like that, I mean, is there anything that sounds like heavier than this today? I don't think so, man.
Modern production tactics don't really sound heavy
Nope, they don't.
at all. I would have never thought you could take grindcore and make it sound lightweight until I've heard some of these recent albums. I have to say there's no fullness, no richness to it. It's a damn shame.
and
Yeah.
it is Steven Wilson who touched up the outtakes and the alternate takes, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I
He
I still
did
put
want to hear that.
he did such a superb job on them.
Yeah.
I remember saying that, like in some ways, I mean, I still love Volume 4. I still love the original album, but I just listen nowadays to his mixes because it just sounds so fresh.
Mhm.
And even on CD, and I'll be the first to admit, music just sounds better on vinyl than it does on CD. But the rip on my phone from these CDs in my car, it sounds immaculate. Yeah, he did a good job.
I
he
mean,
did
Steven
put
is an audiophile, and like he has a very good ear for mixing and all that stuff. I mean, the stuff he does with Opeth is great.
mm-hmm.
Mm.
No, he does a great job here. I mean, I definitely don't listen to it more than the original album because it's not really always the full songs, although I like what he did. But his true masterpiece with these Sabbath boxes is his mix of Technical Ecstasy. If you have not heard that, please do.
I'll agree with you on that. And if you have the Paranoid one, even though he didn't have anything to do with the quadraphonic mix, I would suggest people listen to the quadraphonic mix of Paranoid. I just think it sounds better. Not to mention you hear War Pigs without the tape speed up at the end.
Yes.
Hmm.
The quad mix does sound better. I mean, I love that one too. But for me, I don't know. The Volume 4 remaster is the one out of all of them that really truly blew me away. I just love how this sounds. Everyone should get it, even if you're not going to get it on vinyl. Grab the CD.
If you can find it. It's so beautiful. Look at this.
Mm-hmm.
I love you.
I would have grabbed my vinyl box set, but I did not get a chance to shower in between leaving work and coming on here. And if I get fingerprints on that, then I have to get another one. It's just that's because I'm neurotic.
One thing I do like about the box sets is they're keeping them, well, for now anyway, all the same size. You know, yeah, some bands will release them.
Oh, you're talking about the CD.
The CD
ones.
versions,
I was
yeah.
Say Paranoid is way thicker than the other
Yeah,
three.
no, but at least they're the same height, for the most part. So
Yeah. Even the Tony Martin box set,
Oh,
everything
yeah.
fits right in together.
The vinyl box sets are all the same height too. I thought you meant thickness wise.
No. Yeah, of course they're gonna be a little bit
double
thicker.
size. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only one out of all of them that I bought that I really don't listen to is Live Evil.
Yeah, no interest. I mean, I don't dislike that album. I mean, shit, there was a point in time where I was listening to it every day in preparation for the Heaven and Hell tour when it came to Radio City. But
I mean, the
I just didn't
remaster-
understand the point of the different mixes on that one. It's a live album.
Yeah, no, the remaster of it is definitely interesting to hear because the original sounds like shit. I don't care what anybody says, but a lot of problems around that album. Honestly, it's not really the best performances on it. If you are going to really truly search out a live album from that period, Live at the Hammersmith Odeon is the one to go with.
That is a great one.
Yeah.
Catman says he sometimes despises remasters, but he was quite pleased with the At War with Satan remaster. He's mentioning freaking Venom again.
It's funny because after he mentioned that last week, I was well, I listen to Venom a lot, but out of the original three, At War with Satan is probably honestly my least favorite. Even though I love the Warhead EP, but I don't know, Welcome to Hell is probably my favorite. With At War with Satan, it's honestly mostly the title track. It's very interesting to listen to and kind of have a laugh at, but yeah, they weren't good enough musicians at the time to pull that off.
Maybe we should talk about that one day on the show.
Oh, we certainly will. I'm fine with doing a full review of the album.
We gotta do that, and then somebody also requested some Slayer because we've never done Slayer before. I don't think.
No, we never have. Huh,
which is strange. That. We've never done any Slayer album, so we have to do that too.
I'm all about it.
What about Merciful Fate?
We have an entire series based on Merciful Fate.
Yeah. All right, I'm sorry, I'm new. Come on.
I mean, quite honestly, I could talk about Melissa anytime, but I really don't want to go through and do Merciful Fate.
No. The only time we'll do that again is if anything new ever comes out.
If Glenn Drover calls you back.
yeah, definitely come on the show. Are we done with Volume 4?
I think so. It's great. So go and grab it.
And grab it. It's got some good songs. I know I didn't talk too much on this episode, but it is a good album. There are some good songs on here, and I need to listen to it more, and I will.
Good.
All right.
I need to listen to the live CD too because I didn't get to that yet.
You certainly should. It's two different shows put together to mimic the actual set list at the time, but they've gone back and remastered and made everything sound good for this.
And I'm assuming Patrick Meehan does not make a dime from this, right?
I don't believe so. No,
I hope not.
I wouldn't think so. Not at this point.
All right, good. You don't deserve anything.
No, he doesn't.
But you know who does deserve your money?
I do know. I think I have an idea.
Severed Angel.
Seven Angel does deserve your money. And if you don't give them money, we will find you and we will kill. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I can't say that. We will not do that to you.
Take it easy there, Corey Taylor. What's the matter with you?
Not Corey Taylor.
Oh, you said that to Fred Durst once.
Oh, I was.
No, but you really want me to go after someone that'll do it. I won't kill them, but I will go to their house and take a dump on their porch.
All right. We'll
Okay, well, I like that.
I will settle for that.
I think I got first two albums,
We will shit on your porch. The first two.
Skyward and
And the debut. But sevenangel.bandcamp.com. Go buy the new album. It is out now. We only have, I think, 3 copies left. Well, no, I have 2.
If I don't sell out of them this week at Decay and Decadence at Whiskey Rocks in West Babylon, we should still have 2 more.
We'll
So
have 2 more. And yeah, otherwise you have to go to rocksrecords.com to buy it. And yeah, that's it. I think.
or Amazon.
Or Amazon.
Yep, that's it. But yeah, I really enjoyed doing this. I was really excited about this. One of the best albums of all time.
Real
Yeah.
fun.
So I'm glad you all checked out the remaster and enjoy it as well.
Yep. All right. That's it for now. I don't know what we're going to do next week, but we'll talk about it. And we'll be back next week with a show. Until then, goodbye.
Chee wee wees.
later, guys.